In April of 2004, I visited a website that would change my life. Sound drastic? Well, maybe I am exaggerating a little bit. But I'd have to say that first mouse click was momentous, because that was the first time I took up residence in Disney's Toontown Online.
Ever wondered what it would be like to live life as a Toon? Well, here's your chance. Jump online and straight into Toontown, where the city limits are as wide as your imagination. Start by creating your own unique identity and turn yourself into the Toon you always wanted to be. Sweet! Now you're ready to leap into a world of Disney magic. Burst into a never-ending adventure across outrageous new lands. Don't just stand around looking, get into the action! Toontown is an endless world! Run wild in it! Interact with thousands of other Toons from all over the world. Pick a spot to meet your friends or make a bunch of new ones. Together, you'll discover a whole host of awesome games to play. The more you play, the more you win, and the more gags you get. There's never been a competitive, online, multiplayer, interactive, ever-changing, Disney-inspired Toon-themed game like this before. But it isn't all salsa and slapstick in Toontown. You've got some corporate robo bad guys to deal with. These evil cogs want to mess up all the fun. How typical of someone in a suit. Battle the cogs with your full arsenal of gags and take back Toontown! You'll need courage, creativity, teamwork, and a massive amount of cream pies. How does this game end? It doesn't. The folks at Disney are making it bigger and better every day. You just play more games, meet more Toons, get more gags, explore new worlds, and it gets crazier and wilder and more! Thanks. I needed that. Toontown, are you Toon enough?
1 minute and 50 seconds of pure nostalgia. Obviously, this commercial must have done something right, because it got me to create my first ever Toon, a red cat called Pancake. Granted, I didn't know how to do practically anything. I couldn't even jump out of the fountain in Toontown Central, but I had to begin somewhere. Before we go on to the rest of this video, let's talk a little bit about how Toontown actually works. It's still going despite its official closure, but we'll get into that later. As you saw in the trailer, you create a Toon in one of several species. The game's main objective is to defeat the cogs, evil business robots named after the corporate and political stereotypes such as Micromanager and Spin Doctor. Adults would likely catch these references much more than children would. This objective is accomplished through the use of gags, many of which are modeled after classic cartoon weapons such as anvils and cream pies. As you complete various tasks throughout the game, your Toon levels up his/her gags and laugh points, Toontown's version of a health meter. But if you lose all the points on your health meter, you go sad and return to one of the game's playgrounds, whichever one is nearest your defeat. The gags in the game require ample knowledge of strategy, and each one has a unique purpose. Allow me to demonstrate a battle in action. Here we are in Cellbot headquarters, and I'm about to initiate a battle with a cold car level 5. The level of a cog indicates how much damage is needed to defeat it, and in this case for level 5 it would be 42 points. I'm going to start the battle off with throw, and every throw gag is based on pastries from the one that you just saw, the cupcake, to the highest gag, the wedding cake. The cog will now take a turn to try to attack me. This is what's known as a turn-based battle system. If the cog had succeeded in attacking me, and there were another Toon in battle with me, that Toon could use Toon Up, which I just pointed out there, to heal me. Next I'm going to use Squirt, which is based on water, as you might assume from the name, and you start with the squirting flower and go up to the geyser. And of course every Toon starts with throw and squirt. Next I'm going to use Sound, which is probably the most popular gag within Toontown, since it can attack all 4 cogs at once. There can be a maximum of 4 cogs in a particular battle. So even though Sound doesn't seem very powerful on the surface, when you combine with other Toons' Sound, it becomes much more powerful. For example, 4 foghorns equals 200 damage, and 200 is what's needed to take out the maximum cog in the game, a 12. Next, I'm going to use the Trap gag track, which starts out with banana peel and goes up to train tracks. Now, Trap has perfect accuracy with one minor caveat, and that's that you need lure for it to work. You're going to see that I'm going to demonstrate lure in a bit. I'm also pointing out in that particular footage there that I don't have drop, and that's due to the fact that of the 5 additional gag tracks after throw and squirt, you can only select 4, so you have to choose the one that you want to go without. Tunes are actually usually named by what they go without, so you have tune-upless, trapless, lureless, soundless, and dropless. If you're a newer tune, I would recommend that you go trapless or dropless. And in fact, I would recommend that for almost any tune, regardless of how long you've been playing the game. I'm going to use lure again, and as you saw, lure has several purposes. One of which is to lure cogs into traps, but the other one is to prevent the cog from attacking me for a few turns. You're going to see that in a minute when the clock runs out, that the cog is not able to attack me because it is temporarily stunned by the lure. On the topic of soundless also, tunes that go without sound tend to get a lot of grief from the community, which I think is really a shame because their strategy is often superior even to mine. I've been playing the game for almost 16 years on and off now, and I tend to learn from them, but I'm just recommending that you don't go without sound because you might experience a hard time. Now here I am using the whole fruit pie. You just notice another thing about lure that's special is that lure adds additional damage in addition to when you hit the cog. So I had 29 for the whole fruit pie and I got a damage bonus of 15. Here you're going to see the gag points that I get for completing the battle. And that's basically a battle within Toontown Rewritten. Of course, there's much more to Toontown than just defeating cogs. For instance, in the trailer, you probably noticed trolley games, one of Toontown's major side activities alongside gardening, training a pet doodle, racing, and golfing. Several of these side activities also reward you with layup points if you accomplish major goals, such as making a few birdies in golf, or growing 30 different kinds of flowers. Trolley games and fishing are some of the ways, along with just for fun tasks, of earning jelly beans, Toontown's in-game currency which is used to buy gags, clothes, and much more. Obviously, Toontown is like the Transformers of the 80s, more than meets the eye. The game's fandom was quite active at its height, doing everything from participating in new species elections, to creating online guilds and forums to stimulate discussion, usually by adults, around the game. 2 of these groups, the Cold Cars Guild and ADA, Adult Toontown Addicts, are still active in fan remakes, but I'm jumping ahead of myself. Returning to my personal experience with the game, I spent much time with Super Pancake Bumblebloop, a tune my dad and I shared. Later, when we no longer subscribed to the game, our friends allowed us to use their test tune accounts in order to continue playing Toontown. We took a break for a few years and finally decided to resubscribe, creating a new tune called Pancake Hoppy. After a good while of enjoying life as Pancake Hoppy, I saw some truly shocking news. After 10 years, Toontown Online was closing forever. Of course, as a teenager, I knew there were more important issues in the world. But nonetheless, I was hurt that such a large part of my childhood was disappearing for good. I even wrote a composition for one of my grammar classes that began, "Call me Pancake Hoppy," because I'm obsessed with that opening paragraph from Moby Dick, and I thought I could bring some seriousness into the Toontown discussion with that dramatic rhetoric. I couldn't even bring myself to play Toontown, even though I knew I wouldn't have it for much longer. The gloom of the fanbase lingered everywhere in game, as all of us tried to imagine life without our beloved Toontown. Even CNN ran an article about coping with the loss of an online world. But just when everything looked bleak, a glimmer of hope appeared on the horizon. A small team of developers announced that they were working on rebuilding Toontown from the game's original source code. Did we dare to dream? My father, rightfully so, wondered if the project was legitimate. But I stubbornly clung to my hopes and dreams for Toontown's comeback, keeping my tune alive in my heart, as the original game's creator Jesse Schell implored all of us to do.
1 year later, I was proven correct. Toontown Rewritten's beta launched to overwhelming success in 2014. And what's more, Toon celebrated its first in-game Toonfest on September 19th, exactly 1 year to the date Toontown Online closed. What was once a haunting date became a joyous one, as Toons from all over the world celebrated the game's return. These days, there are dozens of new versions of Toontown that populate the internet. Some, like Toontown Corporate Clash, even dare to go beyond the original, adding new types of cogs and gags to keep things fresh. It's truly remarkable, in my opinion, that Toontown resurfaced after its untimely closing. What's more, it would appear that the success of Toontown's reboots has inspired similar products for other defunct games. Club Penguin Rewritten, My Virtual Magic Kingdom, and several others have dedicated teams of fans which earnestly desire to keep these games open for a new generation of players. As you might have noticed by now, I could talk for ages about Toontown. After all, I spent the better part of 16 years as a resident of this community. I've not even touched on the first time my dad and I beat the VP boss battle and I hid in his bedroom because I was scared we'd lose. Or how my dear in-game friend Super Momo Thunderbrains told me privately after a battle that one of the tunes we were fighting with was so crazy Looney Tunes would have fired her. Or, well, you get the point. Toontown is a bigger concept than I could cover in just one video. But I hope this discussion today has opened your eyes to the fascinating history of a game many only vaguely remember, but one with which I have forged a special bond. And of course, I highly recommend that, if you're interested, you sign up for one of the many Toontown variants out there. Rewritten is my favorite, but take your pick. Because, my friend, I've got one question for you. Are you Toon enough?